Hey folks, for book cover work here for the Crystals of Mabar. Edits are coming along nicely. We got the basic outline laid out, and we are in the process of process of getting all the information that we have from the adventure filtered into its proper order. So we're going to go through all that process, layouts, art production, tokens, all that stuff. It's all going to be done here on stream. So like, subscribe, share. I almost have 100 subscribers. I'm going to need at least 1,000 for me to get paid to do this by Google. I'm about 600 hours so far, and I need 4,000 for me to get paid on that front too. So honestly, anything that anyone can do to help me out, just to boost the signal a little bit more. There's also a link to Twitter down below, which I just posted. That's all the button tapping I'm doing, just posting stuff in Twitter and in my Discord channels to just draw attention to the effort that we're taking here. Beep, 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 beep. Don't know if I have anything else there. Yep, I think that's good. So we are going to, as I said, continue our effort on the Crystals of Mabar. So let's get into Photoshop. See what we're going to do. So there's also a link down in the description down below. It's got a lot of my other DMsGuild stuff that's in a bundle. 35% off. You can read all my work from cover to cover, 100% as samples. Kind of like a lending, not even a lending library, like just reading stuff. Like when I was a kid, I'd go to B. Dalton Book in the mall and grab a seat in the back in the storytelling section, and just take like the Dungeoneer's Guide when it came out, or the Wilderness Survival Guide when it came out, or whatever, Planescape. The boxes were sealed, but they had a lot of adventure books that you could look through. I would just spend hours reading through that stuff, and when I got my push cart money, that I would just push that stuff into TSR. So let's see. I'm liking where we're at right now. I've got this big ugliness thing going on back here, and I left it there intentionally as a reminder that I got stuff to do back here. So I got that stuff to do, and I've got these fonts to resolve. So I'm thinking I'm gonna first cover all of this up, make it less. Got a couple hours here. It's just after 7 o'clock here in Seattle, so I'll stick around till 9 to do stream here, and I'll have to jump offline, but I can still do. I mean, you guys only see a portion of the work that I do. I like to do a lot of this stuff for you guys to come along and see how the process goes. It's a lot different from, I didn't do any adventure development on stream for this. Just a couple smatterings here or there. The most of the work I'm going to do involving this online has been all the map work, the extensive amounts of map work that we've been doing. Making maps is no joke, dude. So they'll be black and white, 1-inch grid maps that will have that you can print out and print on demand as an extension, as a zip file that'll go with the adventure that's online. But there will also be color maps that can be used in VTT. Not going to provide printable color versions because it's gonna end up being 100-foot squares on an 11.5 by 11 by 18, 11 by 17 page with a 1/2-inch border or a 1/2-inch trim on each side for the printer to feed out. But then you're going to have 7 inches of garbage left over. But we'll be able to do 100-foot, or we'll be able to do 10 by 10 1-inch grids that way, so you can print out the pages and put them on the tabletop if that's how you want to do it. Though I am a huge VTT enthusiast, and I always recommend that as just a far more optimal way to play D&D, even in live. Even live, I don't play live D&D. All my D&D is over VTT. I've got like 5,000 hours on Roll20, something ridiculous like that. So I mean, I obviously do virtual tabletop stuff, like a lot of it. So hold on real quick. I do not like whatever the hell it is that's got going on. I don't like it. It's gotta go. It gotta go. Thank you, Buddy. Just gonna fade this in a bit here just to line up with its compatriot on the other side there before I make more decisions about what to compose in this. I'm recognizing it. So Stuart, God bless you, Stuart, sent me forward an article about like trends and effectiveness in cover art in the TTRPG scene, especially among like DTRPG and DMsGuild, Pathfinder Infinite. I think that's what I call it, Infinite. Anyway, I got a lot of disagreements about a lot of that stuff, mostly because, like, for example, the trends articles that we get talk about what we see most common on book covers, like, here's the percentages, but it doesn't really take into account the fact that a lot of these folks can't really afford more than like the stock art of a cool looking ranger with a bow, and then just blow that up to make that their cover. That's like, it's not a custom cover. They're not really building something unique to their adventure. They're finding stock art that fits the bill for what they're presenting, which is the right way to use stock art. That is correct practice. No diss. That's all there. But it's not custom. So I don't think I've had any misfires with any of the covers that I've built so far, and they've all been. There's been a pretty wide array of different tastes that have gone into the production of covers that I've done, from just graphic sigils to full color character and monster splash art to well, I guess this is the two types of things I do. I either do like magic sigil type stuff, or I do combat scenes. I've also done like the Nature's Ally, the Selesnya Druid, singing to a bird of paradise. That qualifies for that one central image or one central figure character in the image. So I will say that works, and that was certainly low-hanging fruit because that was artwork that I created and I repurposed it as a book cover, which was super fun to do. It's also available on DMsGuild as stock art. So check out Phil Kearney on DMsGuild for stock art. I offer it. Let's see. Yeah, so I think if it's relevant, I like the strength of a single character, especially because of like subclasses. Subclasses is like just such obviousness as to when you should be using a single character as your book cover, especially if like that specific character illustration does a bang-on job of representing what kind of content you're presenting to the consumers. Anything beyond that starts to become more and more sketchy. Pardon the pun. But that's one of the draws and advantages of being an artist first and a game designer second, of having the opportunity to have access to this creative tool and to be able to make custom art that doesn't look like anything else. Like if 87% of book covers are of central characters, but you're writing an adventure, what character is that? It's probably not the adventurer. It's probably not the player's character. So it's questionable how valuable that is unless that specific character is like perhaps representing the villain in the adventure that the players are on. But I think more so, I think a collage sort of effect, like this, like a symbolism sort of thing, like surrealism that I've got going on here. I mean, obviously this is what I'm doing, so I'm going to prop it up as the proper thing to do. It's just what I'm being inspired to do. I don't know if it's the most algorithmically optimal solution, but it's certainly what my heart is drawing. It's what my heart is drawing me to do, and I know my muse speaks through my heart. So whatever she wants me to do is absolutely what I am going to do. So I think the path that I'm following is probably going to be good. And I mean, like I said, if I follow my heart, it's probably going to end up with something that looks really cool. And I can trust that it's cool. Just like I can trust at this point that edits are in hand and that the rewrites are going to be good. And this has been just a fantastic project to be a part of. And it's just the first part of this project. This project is, this adventure is just a demonstration of a random encounter generator that I have that is being slowly built into a toolkit for people to purchase from. And it's more of an inspiration, like an adventure seed generator more than anything else, almost like AI. It just provides a bunch of random tables for different types of plot elements and adventure, like story adventure elements that can be combined into a story that you could then take that story and convert into an adventure that, like any adventure, it's the characters that are telling the story. But it provides, it provides villains and plots and twists and unique locations to build stuff out of that you can extrapolate adventures from. So while we were building that toolkit, it just kept coming up. Like when we're talking about how do you layer in adventures, challenges inside of your adventure that are going to oscillate between like combat and social challenges and exploration challenges. How do you layer those things in, and how do you build those components into this adventure nugget that we're building? And as we kept developing content, it just kept leading to here's an example of how you would do that. Here's an example of how you would do that. And it's like all these hypothetical examples that just took half a page to describe the hypothetical situation just to get the point across of how an example of merging a combat and exploration challenge together would look. Instead, it's just much easier just to build a freaking adventure using all of these tenets and then publish that adventure, make it 100% visible for folks to look at as a reference document. So it's like, hey, on page 65, when we're looking at characters trying to find their way into the necromancy research bunker, you're confronted by a slew of guards, and they have motivations and they have directions, and those directions are starting to conflict with the motivations of these guards. So if your characters are aware of the conflict, they can exploit it for either deception or persuasion checks. And so the adventure goes into, here's the different things that they know. Here's the things that you can overhear them complaining about. Here's how you can avoid them and where you can move to if you're doing exploration stuff, to be able to listen into what they're doing without having to engage in combat or forcing their hand to follow their commands, which is stop anyone you don't recognize from getting any further. Instead, you can use exploration or stealth challenges to get maneuver around them without them noticing you, so you can continue to hear the conversations that they're having before deciding if you want to draw a steal or if you want to try. And in a couple of playtests we've had, we actually turn the guards on your side so you have reinforcements watching your six while you go down into this dungeon, so that you don't get snuck up on and end up getting pinchered later on when you start going after the actual ritual. So that's stuff that takes time. So if you lay out an adventure, it's like, here's how these things look, and over here, here's the thought process that goes along with how we got to this point. That's the kind of utility that's what led to Crystals of Mabar, being able to share that thought process. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to finish this adventure so that we can finish up that toolkit, so that the toolkit will be out there so that folks can build more Eberron adventures, because there's not enough Eberron adventures out there. So I'm just building a toolkit to help people make more Eberron adventures. And if you want to build one as a DM yourself, you're welcome to. And obviously do that for your home table, and you brew up your own stuff, and I'd love to hear what you create once it's out there. And I have a Discord community to share seeds and stuff like that, and I'll be able to expand and make new decision trees for making different adventure types. So I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited about that. Like, I have an idea about doing something, and then I immediately start thinking about what's the process necessary to make that thing be a thing. And that thing of the process of making a thing be a thing is its own thing. Like, if you tuned in with me earlier today when we were looking at the when we were streaming the Martial Powers project, that whole Marshall Powers project came about because I had to go through the thought process of how would I make a Swiftblade, a Boros Swiftblade character that's basically permanently hasted. How would I go about making that character as like a fighter or a ranger or a rogue? This was back when Strixhaven was a UA playtest, and I was really into Strix classes because that felt like a sort of 5e prestige class that you could. It had the same kind of flavor, you could bend in that direction. I think I'm pretty happy with that smudging as it sits. I can tell I'm just mincing right now, so I'm going to get rid of that. And get rid of that. Left fort, right fort, fog. Let's go with fort, wall. All right, so that's where that is. We know down here that we want to be at 6.5% for us to verify the accuracy of the, there we go, 6.59. That is the true size when you're looking at the DMsGuild. So like when you're looking at all the different options that are on there, this is the same size of resolution that it has on my screen when I'm looking at it. So this is the size of resolution that I want the book cover, like I need it to be able to read well at this level of viewing for me to determine if it's successful or not. Like, is it going to be good about drawing people's eyes in? So we are currently looking at, I think what I want to do is play with the idea of a skull. Hey man, how you doing? Happy birthday, dude! It is Indestructiboy's birthday, y'all. Pour out one. Congratulations for surviving this long. Take a victory lap around the sun, my friend. Hell yeah, good times, dude. Let's see. I think I want to... Yeah, that's what I want to be. Yeah, no kidding, right? It's not bragging until you're lapping people. It's once you start outpacing people and passing them up in your victory lap. I guess that's reincarnation. Anyway, if you remember this and you're still celebrating your last life and your next life, I think you're really just kind of killing it. Pardon the pun. Yeah, I'm going to go with a matching crimson off of the DMsGuild down here, and then I'm going to highlight it with this same crackling energy effect that I've got going around the moon of Mabar. So we're going to see how that pans out. But you know what? That's a really good point, because that's kind of where we're at. So I think I'm going to, I guess I'll do that. So I'm going to drop the text into a lower opacity so it doesn't get in the way. And let's see. Actually, I'm gonna get that out of the way so it doesn't get in the way. I am going to absolutely have to highlight this, because this is really difficult for me to see. Really, really difficult to see. So I think the first thing that we want to do is a practice run on the letter. So thanks for pointing out that Spelljammer font pack that Nathaniel did, because that was really good work. It really fit into the Spelljammer book cover that I'm working on. My God, that cover's coming along sweet. That is going to be such a fucking great piece of machinery when it's done. I am stoked. That's a magical effect. The moon itself is a nondescript dark gray object in the sky. In my worlds, and I let that float over this, but in my Eberron, the moon isn't an object; it's a hole that leads directly into the other plane. And the light that's reflected off of it, the moon that you see, is the light that's emanating out from that actual plane. So you can take a ship and just fly through it, and it's just basically like going through a color pool. And the color pool happens to be the color of the moon, which is the color of the plane. So there's 13 planes in Eberron, and there's 13 moons in Eberron. Each moon represents where the plane is in relationship to Eberron in the metaphysical map of the multiverse. And the moon, you can tell where the planes are in relation to Eberron, determined by where the moon is. So in this adventure, the ritual is latching hold of the moon and it's pulling it to Eberron, so it's taking it out of orbit. And you can literally see the moon is shifting orbit. But from the ritual caster's perspective, when they get into this ritual, this chrysalis chamber, they can actually see the moon is like actually coming in, and at one point it's just going to fade through you. And when it does, poof, the whole place is in Mabar, and that creates a permanent plane between Mabar and Eberron. So demons, Yugoloth, undead, and shadow creatures will be able just to freely roam in and out of this area. And the plan is for the necromancers, they want to take control of the place because the plants that grow out of this plane of death causes really interesting alchemical components that make necromancy and darkness ritual magics ridiculously easy to perform. So it's just a big money grab that has apocalyptic effects that they really don't give a crap about the aftermath of it. So it's just, I mean, at the base of it, it's just toxic capitalism, but it's a great theme. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. But that's the real crux of the adventure is, depending on what hook you're playing, you may or may not know what's going on. Some of the plot hooks are like, yeah, this artifact got stolen, and this is the ritual that they're going to do. You need to stop that right now. We have coordinates. We're going to gate you in there. Slaughter everything. Destroy the artifact. Bring us proof. Another plot hook is, hey, my friends just moved into this new thorp of refugees from the last war that have, we needed to find a place to stay, so we decided to stay at this thorp, and now people are missing. There's weirdness going on in the forest, and if you go into the forest, you find this shit going on, like, oh, and then you start running across, like zombie hordes and like shadow mastiffs and stuff like that. You're like, this is way off the normal beaten path. There's something wrong going on here, and if we walk away from it looking for authorities, shit's gonna go down and we're gonna miss it. So we gotta take care of it ourselves, like right now. And so in that scenario, your characters have no idea what's going on at all. You just walk into it. So and there's like 6 plot hooks. So in each degree of plot hook knows more about what's going on, like knows the plan but doesn't know what's going on locally. And at the other end of the plot hooks is you know exactly what's going on locally, but you have absolutely no idea why. So it depends on what plot hook you want to play with, and you can have different characters that are using different plot hooks that are joining up together to work together with different objectives. And inside the adventure, there's different plot points where you can run across different NPCs that know different things that make sense depending on which hook you are. Or it's just like, that's some fucking weird shit. What's that all about? It's like, I have no idea. Let's spend an hour investigating it. But if you chose like plot hook 3, like, oh my god, this is like that ritual stone we were looking for that we can help counteract this thing. This is super valuable. This was one of our objectives. You gain XP. You pocket it, and now you can go tear up the ritual. So, hey Tyler. Yeah, get into the lettering. It's actually the Emerald Claw, which was the official necromancers for a while during the last war. But there are the gatekeeper, which is the orc druid, the incredibly violent destroy first, ask questions later sect of the druids on Eberron. They're the ones that picked up that the moon was out of orbit, and they know what that means. They actually have this thing called a dimensional seal. That it's like the full form of it's like a 2-ton block, just covered in runes. And when they drop one of those onto a manifest zone like this, it just kills the zone and save, it blocks that energy from coming into Eberron. So they give you a little crystal shard that if you throw it at the ritual, it triggers it unfolds into a seal and immediately locks the ritual down. So if you go with plot hook number 4, hired by the gatekeepers to slaughter everyone, they'll give you a seal, a gate seal. So you go into the place knowing what you're going to find, just don't know where it is and who's trying to do it. The only thing you know is that there is a manifest zone and you've got the tools to shut it down. Get to the nexus and drop the anchor and the whole thing gets locked, and then kill everyone as a punishment. Like, that's your plot hook. So it's each one's a little different. So but it's super, super fun. I think as a DM, I think it's a blast, because there's the cults that's like super know what they're into, and they've screwed over their financiers. So their money, their investors want to find out what's going on, and they're pissed that they got cut off from what's going on. They figured they're being double crossed. And then there's all these mercenaries that got hired. They're decommissioned soldiers with no job, nowhere to go. It's like, well, we used to have military power, so why don't you come work for us? They're like, okay. And like they're not like weeks into this, and like, oh my god, this undead thing is like, this is breaking like everything in the Geneva, the Geneva Convention of Eberron. We are on the wrong side of this equation, but we don't know how to get out of it. So when your characters show up, they're either gonna, if you engage them wrong, they're gonna be like, we have to stand up for ourselves and shut these adventurers down. Otherwise, our reputation is at severe risk as a mercenary group. Or we're already desperately in over our heads and we're about to mutiny anyway. Thank God high-power adventurers showed up to give us an excuse to shoot ourselves in the shoulder and fake wounds so that they can mop it up and we can get out of this without having our reputation fucked up. So you can actually gain them as a mercenary squad at some point during the adventure when you're raiding this place if you want to. Super fun, like tons of different ways to take it. And it's built to be like you can use, like if you just go with the final, like if you get gated into the final bunker, it can be cleaned up in 5 hours. So we've had playtests that took longer than that, like 8 or 9 hour, I think, where we broke it up into a couple sessions. But if you went just on a kill mission, you could do it you could get it done at a convention, especially if it provides you with some characters. So, but that's the kind of this. Anyway, I'm on hard ramble mode here. You're gonna see more of that. You're gonna see more hard rambling coming from Phil as he continues to get further and further into the art train, because artwork just lets me just random off shit as much as I want. So I'm trying to think. Nope. God's sake, give me the. I have the least steady hand. Like I have the least steady hands ever. I'm gonna drop that in like, ooh, that's fun. I'm gonna drop that in like that, and I'm gonna make a duplicate over here, and then I'll conceal the original layer. Then I'm going to go to, I think smudge this up a little bit. Where do you want to start? It's like a dartboard rule. Yeah. Your goal is to get, Tyler. Tyler was in a couple of my playtests, so he totally knows what he's talking about. You're supposed to get to the middle where you want to begin, starts how. Yeah, exactly. There's 3 acts, and if you start the furthest away, you're just in a hamlet visiting your cousin, and like all this bad shit's going on, and it's like, well, we're heroes. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Other adventures has everyone already dead. Like you get to the town and everyone's already scrapped. It's like whatever here happened already happened. We need to figure out what that was. One of I think the default adventure we're going to go with is when you are deputized by the Eastern Range sheriff, like the sheriff organization. And basically, there's like outriding, like outriggers, where like Mountie sheriffs, where they'll go out into the wilderness and like trying to hunt down a refugee or something for a month and a half. And this is towards the Talenta Plains, where of course there are halflings running around on dinosaurs that are going to become a problem as more and more refugees push out into farmland in the area. There's more and more need for heroics to keep the environment from getting into just ridiculous halfling conflicts with ill-prepared immigrants, either displaced from Sire after it disappeared from the morning, or just Carnathy soldiers decommissioned and trying to rebuild life. So let's go with that. Let's just have that sit. Just real quick. I just hit the save button because I am a paranoid saver. When I'm running OBS and Photoshop at the same time, there's a 1 on a 20. If I roll a 1 on a skill check, it's gonna lock up and it's gonna crash. So every time I'm switching gears into a different type of tool that I'm pushing, I have to make sure I'm hitting save so that I don't lose any of my progress. So let's see, I want to go to select, I'm going to go to filter, blur. I'm going to go with a light Gaussian blur effect. Probably tighten that up a bit. Oh god, I bet that looks... Oops, let me go back to that. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Tighten it up a bit. Okay. Oh, you know what? That'd be genius, but there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell I'm gonna get this done. It's gonna be 100 pages, and there's going to be a lot of illustrations in it. And there's all the maps, and then there's the VTT conversion, so I can release it on Roll20 simultaneously. No, it'll probably be. I'm suspecting December, just in time for Christmas. But yeah, it'd probably be a fun thing to have pushed as a Halloween thing. Does that look good? Does that look cool as a letter C? Is that idea, that coloration, does that work, or does that feel clashy with the rest of the piece? Let's go here. Let's go with black. And I'm at 6.49%. That is the size that would appear on OBS. Maybe. Oh, I just use probably because I'm a horrible Photoshop user. I know the tools that I like, and I use Gaussian blur on a lot of stuff. It's just, I like duplicating the effect. Yeah, I know there's filters that exist, but I don't necessarily know how to use them properly. I just know what I know. So there might be a better way to do it. But I don't use Photoshop to Photoshop at all. Like, I use very little filters. I try to leave it as pushing pixels by hand as much as possible. I'll use effects when those effects make sense, but if I can pull off the effect by hand rendering it, then I'll do it. Yeah. It's a filter, and then I don't know if you guys see that. Oh, you don't see the fucking drop downs. Oh, that sucks. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can swap that. Hold on. Let's see what happens if I push my screen to the background here. Let's try that again. So I go filter, and then I go blur, and then I go to Gaussian blur. Oh, now you can see them. Okay, that was a great lesson for me. Now I know that you won't see drop down menus if I've got, hold on, cancel. Let's go back to that and look. So here's my OBS breakdown. I've got Windows capture. It creates the Photoshop. Photoshop is the PS canvas, and the window capture is my sidebar over here. But if I go to full screen capture and I present it like this, it will then pick up all this other stuff. I did not realize that until now. So there you go. So yeah, the way that I did that was I just made a separate color layer here, like here, and then I go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There you go. So that's what I done. That's what I done did. Just make that a little drippy. Yeah, there's something called there's literally crystals of Mabar or Mabar crystals that are little. It's like condensed evil, and you can use it as an arcane focus for necromancy and darkness spells. So the whole shtick here is that this Emerald Claw organization is attempting to fund global domination Cobra style by firing up this manifest zone to produce necromancy troops like undead and shadow creatures, and they can pull in Yugoloth even, like bad news stuff. But then beyond that, naturally the terraforming that happens in the manifest zone. It encourages the production of Mabar crystals, hence the crystals of Mabar. So it's just like I said, capitalism. It's just capitalism gone evil, and that they are exploiting the resources of a manifest zone. So they intentionally triggered one, not caring that undead and demons and stuff are just naturally spouting out of them, and going into the surrounding countryside. To them, that's just chaos to tear down the current regime that's running Carnathy, and if it gets bad enough, they'll have to turn to necromancy to stitch it up. So there's layers inside of layers inside of layers that people that are familiar with Eberron can be like, oh, I can fuel this type of adventure with this, and this type of adventure with this, and this type of adventure, blah 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 blah. It's fun. There. I'm just gonna go like that for now. I don't know if this is going to be a good idea in the end, but this is where we're at. So this is what we're doing. Oh boy, that did eat up a lot more space. So we're going to kiss and pray this. How are we doing letter? But it is completely just hand doodle, like got this drippy effect going on. So I don't have to, I can just balance this like I balance anything else and just use my normal methods. So at least that's a blessing. Like it took me a while to find the sans serif. No, it was the whatever, I don't remember what serif font it was I ended up going with for the subtitle for the Spelljammer book that I've been doing the cover for. But like sometimes you need crisp stuff and sometimes you can go with organic, and this is an instance where I think organic is going to serve the purpose a lot better. But I don't want to have anything too serify. I want sans all the way, yo. Almost like Comic Sans. A comical sans, if you would. I learned that a sans serif means without serif. And I learned that a serif is one of these things. Like, that's a serif. Or like on letter T, that's a serif. Like if your fonts have these bits, those are serifs. If they don't, it's a sans serif. And so a Comic Sans is there's no serifs and it looks like garbage. That's what Phil learned this month. So how did I? See, I don't see the color, and I screw up, and after a while, I'm like, wait, those values don't match. Something has gone awry, and then I'm like, oh crap, I'm using the wrong color. Luckily, I wasn't trying to like paint somebody's skin or something, which I've done something similar like that before, and I get them fully rendered, and then I realized I used the wrong color. I'm like, fuck me running, man. I have to redo the whole damn thing. Color, check down in the description down below. Monochromatism is a bitch when you're an artist, man. Not being able to see color, it's a special sort of challenge. I'll give you that. Do not recommend. If you have the option of keeping your cones, I recommend it. But you know, you're gonna be you. You make your sacrifice with whatever monkey paw you need. But let's see if I can make that make sense. Yeah, at one time we had a comic font that had. Oh my god! Oh man, thank you for the infection. I appreciate that. It's creating shit's fun. That's the whole reason once I realized that I was never gonna get paid the money that I wanted to make being hired by third-party content producers, and that I'll never get good enough to be taken seriously by Wizards of the Coast to be a card artist. I was like, well, I've got all this art skill. I need to do something with it. Otherwise, it's just a wasted 30 years, right? So I was like, well, I like making DN shit, and it looks like this Ravnica thing is coming out. Why don't I just start pulling the trigger on some of these, house rules that I've been playing with over the years? And I was like, well, if I do that, then I can be my own art director, and I can make my own artwork, and every page can have something that's actually relevant to what's being talked about on that page, because I'm going to sit there and stare at the text on that page while I'm painting the art that goes on it. So that kind of led me to, well, if I'm going to do that, and if I'm just going to sit here and sizzle 1,000 hours just making a bunch of damn artwork, I may as well yammer about it to people, and that's what got me into the YouTube thing, and that's where we are now. So I'm excited about, production coming back, so that I'll have the post edits, so I can drop this in and like actually do the page layouts online, and then like talk about the build the page dressing, and do all the literally do all the bits. So that's what I want to do. I want to do all my books that way. It's cool and it's fun. Plus, if people like what I do, God knows, in time I'll be able to build up enough of an audience that it just becomes promotion for the next book that people are gonna buy. Like if I get an audience of 15,000 people in the next 5 years, it's like, hey, we're gonna do a new book, and they just walk through it with me from front into the back end, and I have it, on my Patreon. I've got the alpha draft model of the dev stage, and then when it comes back, they can just ride along with me along the process. And apparently we can do Kickstarters for artwork on DMsGuild now. So if I can get a crew on board with me with that sort of stuff, then I can start launching Kickstarter processes. Like, hey, it's going to take me 3 months to do the artwork to this. If you want to throw me $70, you can tell me, which one. What do you want this picture to be? I need to drop a quarter page here. What do you want it to be? Art director as a sponsorship level. So that's one of the thought processes. I'm trying to. I suspect I got something weird going on. Oh, that's what it was. Hopefully this is going to work now. Blur. There it is. Thank you. Is that going to... Nope. Duplicate that, and then select, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Oh, that's interesting. I was like, why am I not getting that same lighting effect? I better take this guy back to where he was. The reason I'm not is because I'm like, why am I not getting this streakiness? Because I had a lot more streakiness going on inside of here when I was first doing this, which leaves artifacts. And artifacts are an artifact is the term that refers to incidental, like digital pixelation, like things you don't intend to be part of the illustration that are still visible in the illustration anyway. Like for example, these little pock marks here at these different resolutions, they look like different type of circle effects. Like this is smudgy, while this is more crisp because I'm using different lines of resolution at these different points in the picture. And so the artifact of this is that it's got this fuzziness around it. So when I was doing, it's like these two layers are no good. When I see, there it is. So now you can see it, that there are little incidental effects here that don't actually have any color inside of them, but it's smudge that's kicking outside of the actual frame of the letter. That's how this like expanded smudge effect had originally happened. But I am not a master of this font process right here, right now. I'm just kind of throwing pixels at the screen to see what makes sense and what doesn't. One of the big difficulties of this project is that I could spend a 3-hour stream and end up just throwing it away. It's like, that's dog shit. And like I've repainted the tentacles on the Elithid Nautiloid and the Spelljammer cover. I'm on the 3rd time now. I think I'm actually happy with the lighting on the tentacles at this point. And a lot of that I did off screen, because once I realized like I did some work on this on screen and I ended up throwing that all this crap. I need to really lock down what type of what style of lighting and materials am I going to use for those tentacles before I try to jump back on stream with those to commit myself to that time. So there's a lot that I do offline on top of all the stuff that I do online. So busy hands, and I got to have a lot of projects running at the same time. Otherwise, the muse gets log jammed and she won't tell me what I need to do next. If I can just keep bouncing from project to project, the muse says switch gears, and I'll switch gears, and then she'll keep feeding me information. If I get stubborn and don't want to switch gears, she can turn it off for the day, and then I gotta be donezo. So very much a slave to what the muse would choose for me to do. Go to there, go to there, that. I'm going to smudge around a little bit, see if I can fake some of that goings on. There we go. I don't see so good. I've got the text box off to the side here, so I have to lean into this. Fontissimo. We can. Sorry, I think I'm really far behind. You're asking about the Kickstarter for artwork? Absolutely, yes. As long as specifically for the art, it can't be pay what you want. It can't be for free. It has to have a price tag. And people that back you in the Kickstarter cannot get the product for free. They have to pay the same price as everyone else coming through the door. So there's not a lot of incentive for people to back you on Kickstarter for a DMsGuild product, unless you build a fan base that likes your artwork, and then they're willing to fund your next art project because they just want you to make more art. So I guess if you've got a following, and it's like, hey, I'm trying to throw together an art budget here. Here's the guy that I'm working with, and blah de blah. Like I think it's as successful as any other Kickstarter project. If you've got a crowd backing you, you'll be able to kick any project. It won't matter. So, but yeah, that's I asked Jack at OBS about that specifically, and he said yepers. So I can forward that to you if you need it. I can do that offline. But yeah, so that's exciting. That gives me a lot more thought and hope for the future. I like being on the DMsGuild. Well, because all my stuff is designed to be used with the DMsGuild. Like all my Color Mana stuff is designed for MTG. You should be using it with Strixhaven, Theros, and Ravnica. The Spelljammer mass combat squadron commander mechanics and the dogfighter combat mechanics. Obviously, it's designed for frickin' Spelljammer. Where else am I supposed to publish that? So the Descent into Avernus, the Infernal War Machines mechanics that I built, all that, the City of Elturel project, the Siege of Elturel that I did, last week on stream for this weekend's playtest prep. That was like all these things are designed to be used with like these are the adventures that Wizards of the Coast published. They don't work as intended because they don't have the resources or the ability for you to engage at the scale of epicosity that they depict your characters not doing. So I build these tools so that you can kick up that level of epic that Wizards thinks that you should be doing but don't know how to actually have you do. That's so all my stuff belongs with where their content is at, and if, you know, if I do a good job with it, then I can bundle it with other projects that are selling really well in the DMs Guild. So you know, sales volume, you know, bundles are great. Highly encourage bundles. Gaussian blur, that's work. That is better. It's there we go. Here. I don't know if that's gonna work or not. I mean, size aside, not worrying about the size of it, the image recognition, like the readability of it. I like the idea of I like the idea of this. I don't think it's jiving. Bundles are a good way to get your less noticed titles up. Yeah, definitely. Taking a book at the Incommunist. Oh yeah, the guild 20 serves its purpose. Yeah, absolutely. I'll never knock a rebellion on a platform. Absolutely. I mean, once I start knocking into gold level stuff, I can probably start thinking about building an independent. Let's be honest. Once my channel here gets large enough that I've got 10,000 subscribers, that I'm getting income off of YouTube stuff, off of doing book design and artwork, that's going to tell me that I have enough of an audience that's going to be interested in purchasing my crap because I'm doing it. And if I got 10,000 people that are buying into it, that probably means I'll be able to sell 150 of them immediately, just because I said, hey, I just put this thing up, someone please go buy it. If I got 10,000 people that are looking at my shit on a regular basis, 100 plus of them are probably going to do it, and that's going to end up making it worth its while. So I think it's slow, it's super slow, but I think this is the right way for me to go. I think this is how I'm supposed to be doing. So I was gonna ask for a commission for my... Are you talking to me? Sometimes I do commissions. It's tough. Like it's depending on what it is. Sometimes I can squeeze in like a quarter page or a third of a page, or if it's like just like environmental stuff, I can crack out environmental stuff. Like I can Bob Ross a painting in like 5 hours. So like the Odyssey anthology that Core Artificer and just a crap ton of people. There's like 30 of us from the DMs Guild that built the Odyssey anthology, and they had me do an environmental painting for each island, and it was for Theros, of course. So it was all MTG flavored, and that was a super fun project. But it was like island and water and weather. It's like those are just the easiest things to do in the world. So I can crack out environments. Like I can do a ridiculously good environment in like if I took 10 hours, it would be like way more than it needs to be. But I invested, like I did 150 of Bob Ross's paintings on in Photoshop to learn how to do his techniques. This is where all this tree work came from. Like this is the same type of shrubbery work that he does, and I have to work on the resolution for a lot of this stuff. But this is essentially the same style of stippling, like that stamping effect that he does. That's all Bob Ross right there. So the fade-in smokiness effect, that's Bob Ross, and then I just layer in my other illustration methods in with it. So I don't know. Is that red? Let's see. Does that red even read properly? Maybe I need a larger outline around it. Maybe that's just not enough. Maybe I need to do something just like thick. Like that shows up, but it's stupid. So that's not quite the right answer. Yeah, see, that's the biggest problem I have with the monochromatism is the saturation doesn't register for me at all. So all I can do is go on contrast, which is why a lot of my compositions are really punchy. It's because all I can work is like how much difference is there from black and white and the gray zones. The saturation doesn't register for me at all. So when I look at this at a distance, all I can see is the thin line of medium gray outlining the 75% black CR versus the 85% backline tree foliage versus the 100% black at the very back of it. So like if I'm here, it stands out okay, but here it starts to bleed out for me, and I start losing shape integrity because of the reduction in size. But I mean, if that works for other people, then I ain't gonna shit on it. It's doing what it's supposed to do, although it's obviously the wrong size. So is it worth me playing this out to see the full size, or just to play out a whole word just to see how it sits, or am I down a bad path? This is where having 10,000 subscribers and having, oh shit, yep, Photoshop just locked on me. So we are going to crash that out. Use this as an opportunity to take a sip of water. I like doing sigils and stuff like this background, like this pack seal. I did this as well. So I try to do as much of the artwork myself as I can. This has a button on it, and I bet that means I'm recording. Yeah, it means I'm live. Good. Well, I can't. It's really difficult to just adjust the color because I have no idea. In my quest for contrast, I'll make it pink. So I have to keep a real close eye on the sidebar over here, the RGB scale. That is the only thing that tells me what color I'm in at all. So without that, I have no idea I'm on green right now, and obviously I'm on red right now. But I can, I can build out a skin tone. Like something roughly like that'd be like a tan Caucasian, and this would be more Native American. I can push this up a little bit here. I think gets into more. I gotta drop it down a little bit, but I think I can get into a more mid-continental Asia, like here. So I can play with the color values a little bit, but it's like I have to pull all my color references off of photos. Otherwise, I have no idea what it's going to end up being. So like I have to look at a photo that has the kind of contrast that I want to trust that it's doing what I want to do, because all I have is the RGB, and that someone else used that color as a vetting process that it's good. And then I've got about 4 or 5 different people online and in my life, like my gal is my first editor go-to about checking my shit, and then my brother George in Germany, he's my second wave of defense, and then there's a couple of guys on the DMsGuild that I can also bounce checks off as like, do you think this is a good looking cover and blah blah blah, that type of stuff, so I can get that feedback from folks. So I got that going on for me. So it's not like I'm completely on my own out here. But I can't trust the machinery to get me to where I want to be. If I can't reference it, I can't trust it. I think is what I'm trying to say. It's an interesting challenge. I suspect I was a really good artist in the last life. And when I reincarnated back in, they're like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, I want to challenge myself. How many extra feats can I get if I go colorblind and become an artist? And they're like, oh, we'll give you like 2 extra feats. And I was like, great, let's just dump it into skills and a stat gain. And I think that's how they spat me out of the womb. So, but I've never backed down from any kind of a challenge on painting. And my friend Larry in Arizona, he's like, why don't you try painting in color? I was like, blah. He's like, you got a computer, why don't you just try it? And it worked. And so, Larry, thank you. You helped me build all of this. Transform, and we're going to... I really like Epidemic. I legitimately like most of the songs that are on my playlist here, and I've been listening to, like, this song has been on my playlist since January, and I just like humming along with it. Especially like a lot of the Middle Eastern stuff, and there's some jazz stuff that's starting to get on here that I'm starting to like a lot. So Epidemic, I'm into it. It's pretty cheap too. I know there's a lot of different streaming services, and I just like the money I make on DMsGuild basically pays for all the stuff that I need to build things on DMsGuild. I'm a snake eating my own tail. If I were to see this sitting on a shelf in Barnes, I would notice it. The massive red text over a dark black and green cover. I would wake over and I would wander over and at least read the back. Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. All right, man. Thanks for swinging by. Taryn, you're great. And Tyler, thank you. I appreciate the head check. So I will carry on with confidence here. Awesome hanging with you. I could have a great night, Phil. Thanks, man. Taryn, happy birthday again, dude. Stay alive. And love to the family and the dogs. And I look forward to seeing whatever it is that you do next, man. Do a little bit more of that. Let's do that, and then here, and then drop that. Oh, this is gonna have all sorts of interesting artifacts. Let's go with filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Yeah, that feels right. Go with 50%. little drippier. Oh crap, I forgot to set my timer. What time is it? 8:20 already. Cabo. Alright, well I got another 40 minutes tonight. Stream time, so I'm gonna set the timer. Dude, this Marshall Powers project's gonna kick ass. I am super thrilled with how that's coming along. For those that are not yet indoctrinated, that is the Monday stream. My lunchtime stream, we've been building a spell point system, kind of like Monk's Key, that has a universal spell list that any martial class can buy into, and got about 170 different powers to choose from, so it is as robust as the wizard spell list at this point. And it's all about building, providing tools to take a card from Magic the Gathering and convert it into a character class. So like if you wanted to play a Boros Swiftblade, or if you wanted to make a Massacre Girl, you'd be able to look at what the stats are on the Magic the Gathering card and use martial powers to build like burn mana to use this ability effects that you could then like create your Dimir Mind Spy, for instance. You could opt into a bunch of psionic powers that do psychic damage, as well as being able to like manipulate people with stat boot, like with skill boosts for persuasion and intimidation checks and stuff like that. It's got a lot, and like a bunch of teleportation effects, and, blah blah blah, like haste effects for like swift blades, and like life gain effects, and all the things. It's and once that's finished, we'll be able to combine it with the spell point variant rules that we have for spellcasters, and all 13 classes in the that are supported by D&D, by Wizards of the Coast, I mean, will have a mana interpretation available, so you could have a unifying mana system that provides the resources for all the classes. So if you multi-class, you'll be able to blend the mana pools of all the classes into one pile that you can then shell out your different martial powers and spellcasting effects and class abilities as you wish. So part of the master plan to build a color mana system for Wizards of the Coast, because I just don't think they have the resources to do it. So someone needs to do it for them, and that guy apparently, according to the muses, is me. The spell point sorcerer is coming along really well, and the artificer works great too. So super pleased, super pleased. Let's see. I won't be on tomorrow. Tomorrow is my lunchtime adventure with my co-workers. We have a weekly game. We call it Lunchtime Adventures. We're 16th level right now. It's an Eberron campaign, and that is coming along nicely. We only do like a 90-minute lunch every week. So we just crossed into our 4th year anniversary at 16th level. They'll probably finish the campaign. I mean, they're so unstoppable at this point. All I can do is harass them. But they'll probably have the campaign finished. I reckon by February. I think we'll be done with the actual campaign. They want to do Spelljammer next, which I'm excited. I'm going to do Spelljammer 4X. Is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them a mercenary / trader guild, and I'm going to start them with a tradesmanship. And we're going to randomly generate different cargo runs to different systems and have them run across stuff while they do it. And we're going to build a campaign out of that. When every season their guild goes through the 4X process of allocating their downtime resources to perform different tasks using members of the guild. on top of the specific cargo or adventure runs that they do themselves directly. So each season they'll have an update to their organization, their guild's progress, while they're choosing one of those, one of the missions that they get hired to do. They'll do it themselves. So they'll choose which thing they want to prioritize as their own special white glove treatment, and the rest of it they just allocate to NPCs. And then they do their command rolls using the command dice and whatever rank they are to determine how successful the effort was with the particular task they were attempting to perform. And then as a DM, I just narrate the updates at the end of the season. It's like, hey, here's the stuff that went right, here's the stuff that went wrong. What do you guys want to do about it? Because this is where your organization sits right now. And then depending on what results you got from the adventure that you chose to go on to handle personally, that'll have more dramatic results as opposed to if you had let an NPC do it. So any of them, like the team can, basically notice board it. I'll have 4 or 5 outstanding plots at a time. In the beginning, they'll only have resources to have themselves do something, but have enough guild members to support them, like in their port of call. They won't have enough for a second ship, but by the time they get to 5th or 6th level, they should have at least one more ship. They might be able to loot one earlier so they can expand their trade network, and it'll just continue expanding like that, kind of like that old game Taipei. Nobody probably knows what that is. It was a pirate game where you were basically sailing the China, what is it, I don't know I don't know my Southeast Asian water line enough to remember it all, but it was like Singapore and Taiwan. I don't remember all the different places where you could go, but you basically had a boat, and you would take like silk here, and you exchange it for like salt over here, and you would take like barley here, and you trade it for weapons there. And each port of call would have a different trade value. That if you had a lot of cargo that matched what the demand was, you'd make a killing. And generally that killing would last for a couple of months, but depending on where you were, it could take 3 months for you to be able to get there, and you might miss the opportunity. Or you could get like a hot tip. It's like, hey, I hear Singapore is really big on spices right now. They're looking for spices. If you're carrying spices, and then you start seeing spice prices rise everywhere else as demand for it increases, as Singapore just starts eating up all the spice. Pardon the pun. But that's an easy game system that can be built into into a D&D game using this Guilds and Kingdoms resource that we've been building. Yammer, yammer, yammer. Cry some more. I am noticing these are not at the same scale, so I need to I'll do like that. I'll probably end up putzing around with this offline like a lot, to get to where I want it to be. Like, this is the gist of it. You guys are getting the gist of this. This is what we're doing. And apparently it's got decent legibility. So if I can work out that thickness, I think I just need to hand craft the backlighting and then just like do a light Gaussian. So it's just like, it just pops a little bit, like 4 or 5 pixels worth. But if I handcraft most of it, I think it will probably read just fine. So it's the line weight is always a challenge when you're handcrafting font, because like this one is thinner than this and this one. Like this one's thicker than this one, and this is thicker than this one. It's somewhere in between. So it's that consistency is an issue. That was one of the problems I was having with the tentacles for the Nautiloid ship that I've been painting. It's got 8 tentacles, and I need to make sure that they have the same lighting effect, have the same thickness, taking into account of distance and perspective, making the ones further away look smaller. And I need to have the same type of material, so it needs to have the same type of reflections, depending on where the light sources from the material, from the environment's coming from. A lot of variables that got to get taken into account. So it's a pain in the tuchus, I'll tell you that. That's why we get paid the big bucks. This is my retirement plan. I don't trust the stock market. I trust the stock market. I trust the stock market to crash another 15 times before I'm old enough to actually cash in on any type of retirement. So I'm super dubious about how valuable investing really is. It sounds suicidal, but I would rather build an audience base that is going to support the work that I do as its own form of revenue generation than to try to amass some sort of property or investment portfolio, that both of which could get washed out. I mean, property literally, like 30 years from now, I don't even know if Seattle's going to have viable street property or not. But beyond that, there's also the problem of eminent domain. There's been a number of blocks of neighborhood that have been seized by King County and by Washington State for highway development. And if you're in their line of fire, you're out, and they're not going to give you house value. They can just take it from you. It's rough. So like all this investment stuff that we're doing, we're hedging our bets that we're not just going to get screwed over when we're old. And investment sounds like a good idea, but that's only because so many people get paid to sell that shit to you. It's not actually reliable. So property's not reliable, like I was saying. And so I mean, I don't know. It's hard to not be scared about it, but at the same time, it's important not to be scared about it, because I could get splattered next week going across the street and not see a truck or something. And it's happened before, it'll happen again. And so I can't really count on me being here forever. And it's like, when I'm looking back at it, like, what's the most important things for me to invest my time on? The fear that someday I might not have enough money, or stick with what my heart is telling me to do and do this. I am on mega yammer now, like super yammer mode. Don't mind me, y'all. It'll get me in trouble the amount of yammering that I'm doing. I'm already talking about stuff I shouldn't be. Getting too close and personal with the public. Beware. Filter is blur gallery. Blur. Gaussian blur. OBK. Wrong layer. There we go. Let's do that. I figure I've got another, assuming that I don't get killed first, I've got another, well, I'm like 45 now, so I've probably got another 30 years of doing this before I have to really worry about not being able to function properly. like I might end up not pushing pixels like 10 years from now and just focusing on game design and leading teams of game designers, and AI may be good enough at that point that all I gotta do is like a little sketchy stuff, like do something smart with that, and it does something smart with it. So we'll see how much I actually need to invest in art in the future, which means I'll just have more time to write. And as I get more successful in writing, the more I'll be able to just offer ideas for other people to write about that I can then assist in launching as part of another Phil Kearney creation. So TM, all rights reserved. That's the, as I say, I want to be a river of where projects flow through me to other people that are interested in working on them, where they can see a record of success in my portfolio, that they will trust that the product will be successful. All they gotta do is show up and build it. And virtually everything that I've been involved in is meddled at this point. And I've still got a couple. I still have some of my newer projects are still trying to get their way into copper because they're too niche. Good lesson there. Don't be too niche. Make sure you're having a product that's going to have enough appeal that random people will want to buy it, not just a specific target audience will want to buy it. That was a really important lesson for me to learn. I'm glad I learned it so early. But yeah, having a track record of successful sales, like having almost all of my work in the silver and electrum sphere, tells me that apparently I've got good ideas, and if I continue if I continue nursing those ideas, then I'll eventually be able to have a large enough catalog that it's like, hey, Phil wants to do a thing, 7 or 8 hands jump up and it's like, yeah, we want to be involved in that. It's like, great, I know my crew now. And I can just focus on ideation, art production, layouts, just making sure it looks good. We'll see what I end up, see what I evolve into. That's exciting to me. This S is feeling way too heavy, and that's a little too sandsy for me. Really sandsy up in here. That. Blur, gauze blur, filter, blur, touch, here. Yeah, I'm a fan of the AI artwork. It is my personal belief that I would be able to put in half the effort to punch out something much sloppier than this and say, computer, make this look good, and it will. So the ability to put 2 and 2 together to come up with decent ideas is still going to be important. I think more so in the future than even now, because with AI being able to produce low-hanging fruit solutions to ideas, it's the people that are able to take those ideas and do something interesting and new with them, i.e. the artists, that are going to end up being able to push AI into doing more than what people that are currently designing it can expect it to do. So I don't want to break my back, patting ourselves on the back yet, but that's what's going to end up happening. That's how this stuff works. Someone comes up with a new tool, they barely understand what they have their hands on. Somebody a lot smarter than them comes along and knows exactly what to do with it, and then they change the entire industry. So, like I was watching a documentary on the production or the creation of the original Doom back in 1993, and that guy was using military coding for flight simulator programming that they were just starting to get into the military use of. And so it had to do a bunch of vector rendering so that you'd be able to identify objects that you were approaching in your simulated flight path. And he was able to use that to simulate the higher value walls and floor plans, like the patterns, the texturing that he put on the walls. That was all military stuff, which I didn't know. But I mean, it makes sense. Military leads in almost all developmental stuff. So it still feels good. Definitely gonna have to be smaller, but so far so good. See, if I was seraphing these, I could like do little blood drips off the end, but I am not seraphing. No seraphs for you. Sans the seraphs. Give me that sweet comic seraph. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo all these backlights because they're not consistent. Especially if I smudge them like that. So I'm still gonna put them in here just for reference. They're all definitely smudging a little differently, which I am not happy about. But this also isn't my final rendering process. This is just the first go. So we're going at it. Boom, 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 boom. I'm really looking forward to the next adventure that I'm going to create using this method. There was the play test that I did with Babies with Knives. It's on the product page of the. If you're down below and you look at the 5-color mana spell point variant rule core mechanics that are in the bundle that I have linked down below. In that product page description, there is a link to a YouTube video of me DMing a 6-hour one-shot of 6th level characters using the 5-color mana system in an Eberron campaign, where they're climbing, where they're trying to pursue cultists raiding a mountaintop temple, and your team's goal is to stop them from doing that. And it is super fun. So it was a bunch of people who had never played an Eberron before and were familiar with but didn't have preference for the 5e game system, and it It was great. It was freaking great. It was a team of 4. It was the 2 hosts of Babies with Knives, and I can't remember what production companies it were, but it was just 2 independent creators that built like OSR and alternate TTRPG games that they have their stuff sponsored by Babies with Knives, and they would make themselves available to be guinea pigs for similar testing, so they could test their stuff and they could test other people's stuff, basically live action on stream as like a let's play. Super cool setup. I need to hang out with those dudes more. But Babies with Knives, definitely recommend them. Super cool guys. Super, super cool. Language snippet. Probably need some sort of unified. Even though it's just like me like smearing letters, there still needs to be a style guide that goes into the font. Like the left side is always heavier than the right hand side, or the bottom is heavier than the top. You know, there has to be a unifying language for the letters, and I decidedly do not have that yet. But right now, I'm really just trying to parse out how much space is this stuff going to actually eat up anyway. So that's really important. I had like really rough scrawl base letters that we started with, right? And like that had them all fit, but it wasn't the type of font, it wasn't anywhere near the font. So I needed to get a little bit more serious about the font. So this is me getting a little more serious about the font. Eventually what we'll do is we'll find the right weight and we'll find the right angling so there's a consistent language between all the letters. They'll have a rough proportion laid out, and then from there we can just, you know, fret. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, let's go with that. I got about 6 hours worth of music on an Epidemic, and I don't really stream for more than 3 or 4 hours at a time. So there's always more music in my queue that I'm going to listen to, and I think that does a lot for helping make sure I don't burn out on the music. Plus, I like having a set pattern of music that goes along with the stream, because it's easy for it to feel familiar, and I've had a lot of success with me being productive in streams. So the more the music is reinforcing the work ethic, I think the more I'll continue to be successful in this effort. It's just going to get better. Like this music becomes a Pavlov dog of creativity. It's like I hear this song, I know it's time for me to be productive. So it's interesting. I was also, as an alternate to this chunkier letter, I was also thinking about like this is so much chunkier than this, and this is like C-level chunkiness, right? You can see that difference in line weight. It just doesn't. It's not appropriate. There needs to be a consistent language. Once I get the spacing and the sizing right for this size objects, it'll be a lot easier for me to be able to rebuild all of these within the proper space that they should be filling. So, crystals. But yeah, I've been thinking, my brain has been telling me that I should explore the Dragon Mark art as a possible sans language for me to use for creating the letters, to use that same, like that same circularness that they've got, and they got like that ink blob sort of effect at the end of a lot of their stuff. That's got like that sort of a look to it. I mean that's horrible, but that's kind of how dragon marks work. So I may be able to, instead of this, use the dragon mark artwork as a font style guide for me to create something that's going to look even more distinctly like Eberron once it's produced. So that is what I think is going to end up happening. But I think it's still valuable to go through this production process. Fascinating. What are you wrong? Confirmed. We got 8 minutes left. That's all I need. Cheater, cheater. Copy paste with all the haste. See how that changed? It's just, not good, my friend. Not good. Not good. Alright, now we start to get twisting stuff around a little bit. Our goal is to get this word in here like that, but not crappy like that. Like good, but kind of like that. So it actually does have pretty damn good visibility. Okay, and actually these read a lot easier to me than this does. Word to the wise. We'll figure it out. ALS for you and me. It's probably not supposed to be an anthem, but we can make it one anyway. Oof, man, I am not liking that at all. Where did you go, buddy? Back. Whew, woof. Not good, my man. We do this. We're going to go like this and this. And I'll scoot that down. Go like this and this. Maybe give you a bit of a tilt here and here. Free transform. Give you a bit of a tilt. Starting to feel a little better. Almost there. Stay on target. Woof, woof. This is ugly as shit. Huh. Interesting. This might work out. I think this is going to be an example of a stream where I spend a few hours fucking around and then end up throwing it all away. Speak of a devil. Speak of a devil. That's I can feel it. Feel it already. As if on cue. That's my cut for the day. Thank you. Just gotta clean up these letter quickie says. Letter Frenchie. Out of it. It's a start. It's a crap start, and I think it's because I didn't have any organization. I think what I actually need to do is have something like this, like a block, where I actually am defining the space where all this stuff needs to fit inside of. Like, this is probably the proper way to do it. Like this. Free transform and then flip horizontal. I swear to God, font is such a huge drain on time. It's so important. But by God, it sucks. But yeah, something like that is probably what actually needs to happen. So I can come in here like this and do like up. And then I know that I've got this much space for crystal, the C, and then for the R, and then another R I could probably duplicate from this one. A. That's a horrible Y. Krista Amaba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Screw you, Rufus. Too many letters. So many letters. But yeah, this is probably how we're going to have to end up doing this thing if it's going to work at all, which means we're going to have to really figure out how can we have 8 letters on this side and only 5 letters on this side. It's even worse than Spelljammer. Jeez, McCrack. We'll figure it out. That's why we get paid the big bucks, right? So that's my stream for the night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe. I won't be on tomorrow and Wednesday, but I'll be back Thursday night. We're gonna do some more Spelljammer book cover on Thursday night, and I got playtest this Saturday. I'm hoping I can have at least 3 or 4 people, if not 5, show up with me on Saturday, so we can start doing the Siege of Elturel for the Descent into Avernus using Infernal Flying Machines. I got some cool zone control stuff for that test. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cut here. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you on the other side. Cheers.